How's it going, everybody? Live from Utah. Hopefully you're hearing me. Give me a 5-9 in the chat, or I guess tell me what my signal quality is, and let me know how we're coming in. Sounds like I'm losing my voice too. I'll take a 7-3, but we'll save that for the end too. Thank you, Alex. All right. Well, thanks for coming out to the live stream. I've got a special guest with me, which we're going to talk to here. But yeah, we just got done teaching a full day at Fieldcraft Survival, the communications preparedness. And man, are my arms tired. Okay, good, loud, excellent. Well, I'm probably too loud, but we're playing around with microphones here. All right, let's just get into it because we got a lot to talk about. So, how's it going, everybody? I'm Josh, KI6NAZ, and I'm here with Evan, Ham Radio Made Easy.
Radio Made Easy.
Oh, that's right, Radio Made Easy. Is it really?
Yeah.
Jeez, have I been saying it wrong today?
I didn't notice.
Okay, okay. So we just kind of co-hosted, co-taught at Fieldcraft Survival for the Preparedness Communication Conference. It was a all-day event, morning to lunch, and then there were breakout sessions for all kinds of different areas of radio.
Yeah.
And what was cool about it, and I'll ask you what you think too, what I thought was cool about it was we did a lot of polling of the attendees, figured out what they wanted to talk about, and kind of really tried to focus things, I guess, and what they thought was interesting. What do you think?
Yeah, it's cool to see a room packed out full of people that are all new to radio. Like, I love seeing that.
Do you remember what the final number was for tally? It was like 46 or 48?
Something,
Yeah.
From the raffle, right.
Right. We had 3 people get their license, technicians.
Yep.
I would say we'll get to that, but the knowledge curve was definitely at the technician level.
Yeah.
There's a lot of questions, how does radio work? Of course, we got the inevitable. Can we encrypt these radios? Can we go in the dark full encrypted? But one cool thing happened, and I apologize if you're watching. If you're watching and you're in the chat, please tell me your name again. I got a big old crowler, the Timber Patch Brewing. Dude, brought this on a plane. Full recovery IPA, which I need a full recovery, so we're gonna tap into this a little bit. So thanks again, Evan. While I pour this out, why don't you give your little spiel there, tell everybody about yourself or where to find you.
Oh yeah, so I'm on all the platforms. Radio Made Easy. I own and operate, basically bringing normal people, regular people up to speed with training and fully programmed and ready to go kits. So beginner level type stuff all the way to more advanced, really hands-on scenario-based training instead of more hobbyist, right? So we do real life scenarios in class, try to teach people how to use this stuff to solve problems, not just have fun. So it was a fun time though. It fit perfectly with my wheelhouse this weekend, I think.
James asked me, am I sharing? So I did offer. Evan's not partaking today because he's going to leave here in a little bit and head back to what he's up to. So
I'm lead security for important people.
Yeah, so he's
myself and I.
That's right, and he's also a very responsible gentleman. So I was going to ask you, and don't mind me putting you on the spot here,
okay.
But you do radio programming, you do a lot of other stuff. So what has been a lot of the people who come and find you? Because I think a lot of people who watch my channel are generally people who kind of want to do it themselves a little bit.
Yep.
So what's the difference there? Do you think about that at all, or what are your thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, it's the inspiration for why I do it is I met person after person in the tactical training world is where I kind of came out of getting exposed to people in this who had radios and knew nothing about them. They wanted them to work, but they were mystified. And I was like becoming the RTO for dozens of alumni in my training groups, and I thought, let me monetize this, make it into something that can help people and make a living doing it. And so, the person who's overwhelmed, it might probably not your audience, right? Someone who's overwhelmed and intimidated by even programming their Baofeng, right? Think about they don't know spreadsheets, chirp is mysterious.
Nor do they really want to.
Right, they don't want to. Someone may not even own a computer, right? They may run their whole life off an iPhone. That kind of guy, right? That wants a radio, wants to use it for training or use it for preparedness, and I just deliver it to him ready to go.
Yeah. So everybody talking, we've been talking all day. Evan is quieter than me. He's a very large man. There's people asking me how tall is HRCC? I'm 5'10". How tall are you?
6'4".
Okay. So he's a tall man, right? But quieter than me. So we're sharing mic packs.
I'll speak up too. Sorry.
You could probably move the clip up to like right there. Yeah.
All right.
Go.
Sorry, guys.
Way up. How'd that?
Well, it's a collar problem.
There you go. How's that?
All right. How's that?
Go
Any
ahead.
better? Testing 1 2
No.
1 2 3 3 2 1. All right. Well,
I mean, we can switch back to the iPhone audio. That might be a way to do it. Guys, keep in mind, actually, I don't know that I've told this before. I grew up in a house with my dad, Vietnam War vet, not forced to wear ear protection, so he's legally deaf from the Air Force.
and you learn to speak.
And all I did is just project constantly. And so that's why you put me into a hall and I can just fill the room. And I don't know how to really lower it either. That's also why my mic spikes all the time when I do these live streams. So hopefully you work with us. Apologize about that. Clip it to your beard.
That's
No,
right.
don't do that.
Mustache.
Don't do that. So a couple of things. Let me do this right up front. I got some websites I want to hit up. One, I had gotten a couple comments before in the past, like, oh, you're doing videos with Mike, or you're doing videos with American Contingency. Like, aren't they on the terrorist watch list? Well, if you'd like to know more information about that, Mike was on the Joe Rogan podcast this month, and he goes into all of that. And the answer is that's all resolved, and it was really more of a mistaken identity thing than anything based off of the work Mike was doing, which I think he was open saying he was working for the CIA at the time.
He was doing government work,
right,
and the government flagged him at the same time.
Different government,
never happened.
The government never does one thing with one arm and a different thing with another arm, right? But let me go. I got a couple other things I want to mention. If you can, go check out hamtactical.com. Was sharing somebody. Wait, what happened? It didn't move. Oh, that's why, because we're on the wrong. See you guys live.
I think you're there now.
It should be there now. I don't know what that was about, but live on the YouTubes. There we go. Go check out hamtactical.com, the merch store for the Hammer Radio Crash Course, run by my beautiful wife, who did not come to Utah. She said it was too damn cold for her. And
you were sporting the FT8 hoodie.
I was sporting the FT8 hoodie, and I was sharing with people the appliance operators hoodie, which was good for the crowd we were in this weekend, which was pretty fun. Anyway, I think we're hopefully, we'll find out in the future, but there's talks of doing this again, potentially, annually, and potentially making it like a 2-day event, which would be cool that we do like an in the classroom thing, and I would then like to make the second day like a hands-on radio POTA activation kind of thing where we take everybody out. That would be really fun.
We could have used an extra day. People were yearning for more, but we ran out of time.
Yeah, I think so. The breakdown, though, you don't have your slides on here. I do. You want to mention your first slide package we went through?
Yeah, I basically tried to take it as if you're starting from zero, right? And I teach this a lot, so it's pulled from my Zero to Hero curriculum. But basically, it's your first time. How do we get you up to speed on the general principles of radio, right? What are they good for? How do they work conceptually? And then the basic principles, right? Frequency, wavelength, picking how antennas work at a very basic level. And it was a good time. Perfect crowd for that message. But I've practiced with that because that's my curriculum that I teach all over, is bringing total newbies up to speed who may not have aptitude to be self-taught like a lot of us, right? They want a little bit more packaged and condensed, down to earth.
There was a couple of I sat through a lot of your talk, and we had a second Evan who sadly can't be here, but my gosh,
slightly more famous.
Yeah, the special guest was Evan, president of Black Rifle Coffee, who turned out was an 18 Echo Special Forces comms officer, and his talk was amazing. That was really, really cool.
And a whole different angle than I was expecting.
Yeah, a lot more practical, physical communication. physical
Non-electronic.
communication. Non-electronic is
Yeah.
probably the better word of saying that. It was really, really, really fun. That was probably the highlight for me.
That was excellent.
But you got a couple of points in there that I liked. A lot of people, I think, start out in GMRS. You're okay with that too.
Mm-hmm.
But you add the discussion of there's only so many lanes on that highway,
Right.
And plus you're only one band,
Yep.
70 centimeters, which could be congested. That's why amateur radios like VHF, UHF radios are really good because at least you get two bands and thousands of options for talking spaces,
Yep.
which was a pretty good deal. I like the way you explained
Well,
it.
even thinking about repeater interference, right, on GMRS,
There's only so many.
you're quickly out of space.
Right. Yeah.
So
The cooperation for frequency pairs in GMRS is way
I
harder.
think you get 6 or 7. So I mean, ham has hundreds. So
Right.
how many lanes you can drive on? I think that's the analogy to help hit home. You got 22 for GMRS, and that might be enough.
Mm-hmm.
But there's thousands on technician alone. So yeah, I love being able to pitch that, and I think starting at GMRS because of the low barrier to entry, get your chops, learn radio. That's a nice on-ramp to ham. You may never get there. It may meet your needs completely.
Yeah, and that's something we've talked about. That's like that could be the beginning and end of your journey, and that's okay. And oddly enough, the very thing that Nada Rubicon has mentioned is that so many people get into GMRS because they just want the radio for doing the thing that they want to do, overlanding, off-roading, whatever.
Yeah, it does
and you don't
perfectly fine.
Yeah. So, we take all kinds. Oh, I have my icon right on your head there. Oop. Ah! Really funny comment from Henry right here. KK7LBK.
That was him.
Yeah, when I was doing my talk, there was one part of it where I did a radio check, and I was like, "What the heck? We'll hit up BYU," and he came like right back, and then at the end said, "Hey, anything for ham radio crash course?" The class like erupted in laughter because it was literally like this week when Mike dropped the video the last time I was out here, and that whole like thing when we were in Heber. And somebody came back to me on the repeater and did the same kind of thing. It was really funny. So that was great.
And it's mind-boggling to people outside the ham world because they don't know that you're who you are in the ham world.
Mike was very ecstatic when that happened. So
hilarious.
It was really cool. What was your favorite thing?
For me? Oh.
Yeah, from today. I guess yesterday too.
I really like you already said with Evan Hafer's, some of the stuff he talked about that has nothing to do with the radio. I really loved. I love how I integrate comms with my family as he was talking about, making it part of our life.
Mm-hmm.
Like we have radios in every vehicle. My kids all have radios, so I really resonate with that message. And then some of the other things he talked about, nonverbal, even hand signals, body language, and some of the stuff you should have.
Yeah.
I was very inspired to get more squared away. And I'm a fairly squared away dude, but I pale in comparison to somebody of his caliber. So that was impressive.
I took notes. So there was something that I had never heard of, and I'm looking down. I shouldn't be doing that. The camera lens is right.
It's pretty rough.
As a YouTuber, I should be better at this.
Yeah.
One of the things I took notes on, and I don't know if anybody knows about this, but a VS17 flags or the reflective material, and that they use that. It was like it's a red rectangle with a black square or a yellow rectangle with the American flag on it, and they use that as like friend or foe kind of acknowledgement.
It's a very rudimentary identification method.
Which, from communications and preparedness, having something like that is like makes a lot of sense. Some identification, and it's got to be large enough that you can see it a ways off.
Right.
Which maybe Tom, you want to hop in here too? We don't have a mic for you, but I can make room. We might have to switch to the iPhone. Okay, so Tom, president of AmCon.
American Contingency.
Okay, so let me now your my logo's on your face. I think I might be able to change this. Hold on, give me a second, guys. Maybe this might work better. Hey, okay. This is the iPhone microphone. Are we good? I amplified my volume.
Yours is good for sure. They could hear you in the next county without the.
I know. Is that Okay, sounds okay. All right.
Sounds okay.
So Tom is kind of the reason we're all out here. He was helping us out and was talking through the whole thing.
Yep.
Anything you want? I just got done asking him what was your favorite thing. What was your favorite thing from?
Oh man, my favorite thing is always answering questions. I kind of feel like the best way to get value, make sure that the attendees from an event are getting value, is just to let them ask questions and then answer those. I feel, I know if I go to an event like that, I can ask a question and get an answer to it. That's way more valuable to me. So the Q&A part is always fun for me.
And we spent a lot of time with Q&A.
Yeah.
From last night. Last night was really Q&A on what did they want to see out of this, because I was thinking that myself when people were coming up to me. They were like, you mentioned this like JSA call thing. What's that all about? And I was thinking to myself, I'm like, I spent like 4 live streams just talking about JSA call and going through all the different aspects of it. And I'm like, how am I going to cram that into like
30-second answer?
2 or 3 hour-long segments that are really broad? And so I kept going through this, like, how deep do I make this, the technical aspect of this? And that was really hard for me. That was the hardest thing for me, for sure.
Yeah, it's a challenge. But you have to let people guide you, right? And it's just like you do here with the live stream. I mean, you get questions, you answer the questions, and then you get to dig into them as deep as you need to go. Sometimes, sometimes people have to be responsible for their own outcomes too, right? And especially in a setting like that where we can say, hey, here are the things you need to go investigate. Here are the things you need to kind of dig into. Go look at those, come back, ask more questions later. And that, I know for me, I learn better that way also. If I go do the research and find the answer, it's easier for me to retain that later on than if you just hand me a slip of paper with the answer.
There was definitely something I tried to do. One, not use acronyms. I know you guys are always saying, like, you use too many acronyms. There's too much acronyms and lingo in ham radio. But also take the same, like, we used over the horizon, beyond line of sight. Right. There was a couple of different ways of doing that. And the hope was that any one of those things could have become a note in somebody's notebook.
Right.
That then they go home
Go learn more.
and add on to it. Because if you came to a session like this, it's just too much.
Right.
We're just unloading on people.
I did talk to a guy on this afternoon on the way out and asked him how, what he thought. And he's like, my head feels like it's very full.
Yeah.
Right. And there's just so much that I have to digest and kind of think. But it goes back to, I don't know if you shared with them. I like to say ham radio is a hobby of 1,000 hobbies.
I think most people believe that, particularly on my chat.
Yeah. And I've been a ham for 30 years. So there's always something else to dig into. And there's always something else to learn, something else to try and improve on. I think if you look at it from that perspective, you pursue it in that way, then you're always getting better at your craft. And there's always something new and interesting in ham radio. And the technology changes quickly, and there's a lot to keep up with. But by just always trying to find that new facet, that new aspect, that something else that I can get into, it keeps the hobby interesting for me. And
it's one of the few hobbies like that too. Like you can't get to the end,
right?
And I love that about it.
Yeah, it's like getting to the end of the internet.
Yeah,
you can't really find the end. So the good news is there is some video that was captured for this, so it's available. It probably will be available through American Contingency or via Mike, so look forward to that. But really, we tried to tailor it to the folks that were there. So in the future, if we make this happen again, which we hope we can do that, that you'd all join us, because a lot of times, like right now on a live stream, I see you guys all chatting at me, and sometimes I take what you're talking about and modify what I'm talking about. But when you're in a room full of people, which, by the way, I don't do a lot of in-person training like this often.
It's a whole different ballgame.
It is, and it feels more real in a lot of ways, that you're feeding
person.
you get a feedback,
Mhm.
right? And then you're dealing with that and trying to solve the immediate questions and concerns people have. It was great.
There's energy off of that too.
Yeah.
Well, you can observe a room of people if they're jiving with you or not, and it's
That's
all-
when they fall asleep. That's when I know. It's like when we set off the fire alarm that the cooking's done. When they fall asleep, that's when you know you failed.
When the snoring starts,
Right.
you know it's time to wrap it up.
Seamus, thank you so much for the super chat. I appreciate it. So I did bring my slides, but I don't know that I necessarily want to dive into those yet because I really just kind of want to blow through them just so you guys have awareness of some of the stuff. But what else? Anything you want to mention?
No.
How did your breakout go? I was doing one. So what did you do?
So the first breakout was like the comms plan and equipment.
Okay,
Equipment selection.
30
Yeah.
days start.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, the 30-day start. You kind of handled that because I
Yeah.
ran off to use the restroom. There was so much happening so quickly,
no
and there was
breaks.
no breaks. It was just like
Yeah,
go
All
go,
gas, no breaks.
and I'm like, yeah, we broke the throttle off.
Yeah.
I'm
Who's
like,
who's
okay,
the guy
go.
that didn't put brakes on the schedule?
Yeah, yeah.
So I go in the room where somebody's supposed to be, doing a breakout session, and it's like not in there. And so I pulled my phone out and I had a text from him. He's like, "Yeah, I got to take a break. I'll be there in just a minute."
Okay, you got the message. Good.
Okay.
Our
So-
comms plan worked out.
Yeah. So I go up to the front of the room and start telling jokes and doing a little dance and whatnot.
Sorry, I missed that.
Yeah.
It was very entertaining. And that really was just my job the whole weekend, was just
You were the MC.
keep things
Yeah.
rolling and keep
Yeah.
people entertained.
Yeah.
So I think that overall, we were just talking about this upstairs. I think that overall, everybody felt like there was a tremendous amount of value shared. It might be difficult to digest it all right now, and
We got to wait until it gets through the stomach
Yeah.
and the IG track, and then we find out.
and
in the
then
end,
you
there's
find
value
out how
added.
good it was.
Yeah,
That's right.
fill out your comment cards.
Yeah.
So when I got back, I kind of jumped into. So Evan spent a lot of time explaining line of sight, right?
Mhm.
Radio.
Yeah, we kind of had that dividing line. You
Yeah.
were below 50 megahertz. I was above.
Yeah, and you were using practical things like quarter wave length is the length of your arm past the elbow kind of thing.
Right.
Which then I used that to jump off into, well, if you think that's cool, check out my 20-meter
Yeah.
antenna. And we
Yeah.
did the demonstration of walking it out and what you can do with it. I brought up
You bounced right off of it. It was awesome.
grid tracker and showing the distances that you can play in.
Yeah.
And really the idea was the radio is just kind of the tool for working in a specific frequency, whatever it is, or I guess service, GMRS versus
Sure.
AM radio.
Yeah.
But that turned into, okay, now you understand the concept of frequency. Now we need to break down, well, okay, so this is a handheld. What do you do with this? They're ham sexy, but they're not always like the most effective or reliable communication,
Sure.
right? We might want a 50-watt mobile radio.
Yeah.
Well, what's that? Well, it says mobile, so that goes in a car, right?
Right.
Not necessarily, right?
Yeah,
It can
well-
be at home.
Well,
What?
it doesn't always go in a car.
No.
Oh man.
So you put your 17-foot, vertical, your
There isn't
Comet
even,
or
they don't even
Diamond.
make base radios really anymore. The mobile is a base. I
Uh,
mean, they make some.
the
ICOM
ICOM
made
9700 is
not a
really
lot.
the only one I know of that's proper VHF UHF, but even your all band all mode Yaesu 991 alphas, like those, I think
Kinda
that's
oldish.
discontinued now, right? Or will be soon.
Yeah.
Yaesu John, sorry if I got that wrong, but the mobile radio is kind of like the you can be in a car, it can be your home VHF,
Right.
base station, and for a lot of people, it's kind of the recommendation. It's like you spend $500 on one of these for the top end, or even at $300, you could get a mobile pretty much for the same price, 50-watt output, nice exterior antenna. That solves like all your local comms
Oh, yeah.
things for VHF, UHF in most cases.
Yeah.
They might do crossband repeat.
Yep.
That was brought up.
APRS, lots of cool stuff you
Yeah.
get by, which
It-
some of the handhelds do, but
Hmm.
One of the things I think we get from going through a session like we did today is just a reminder of all of the facets that are part of our hobby. And there's just so much to it.
Yep.
Oh, yeah.
Because I think you made the comment the first time. Kind of our standard answer is going to be this weekend's going to be it depends, because it depends on how far you want to go, what the terrain is, how much money you want to spend, how hard you want to
warned
stay.
people, if you get an answer without more questions, that's a red flag.
Yeah, yeah,
Like, what
Oh,
radio should I buy?
that you should question the guy who's giving
Yeah.
the answer, that he's
Yeah.
trying to sell you something.
yeah.
Or he's just stupid. Right?
Because
I mean,
What was the thing Evan said? Black Rifle Coffee. I made a note of this. This was like, all right,
you
good
you
opposite
already
here.
got your passcode
Oh,
yesterday.
son of a. He said, squeeze the dumb out. Squeeze the
ring it
dumb
out.
out of it.
yeah,
So when you have a radio and you're going to hand it to somebody, squeeze the dumb out of it by having
Cheat sheets.
cheat sheets,
Yeah.
laminate them, give them to people, right? Do that whole thing. Squeeze the dumb out of it is going to be, I don't know how we're going to use that, but thank you, Evan.
It's
Black
gonna
Rifle
come up.
Coffee, that's
That's
going to be
gotta
a
come
thing.
up.
We're going to use that. We're going to use that. But yeah, I literally have all these notes with, check marks that went through slides that we covered and things that I literally am going to make videos on from just good comments that we got from people.
Stuff.
Yeah.
He had a point that I know from the tactical training world under stress. I mean, he's done a career under stress. I've done a little bit of training, but there's a whole segment of people that think they're going to rise to the occasion.
That was another really good point that he made.
I
And
make
Mike
that
did with
same
the
point all the time. I try to hammer it because you learn in training, in stress training, like force on force or medical or anything where your adrenaline is pumping, you learn real fast everything you think you know how to do. Your caveman brain takes over, and if you have not mastered it, you will not rise to the occasion. I think radio is, you're gonna have the same vulnerability. You're not gonna figure it out the day you need it.
It's the same thing with, like, if you train with a firearm, right?
Yeah,
You're going to practice coming up and getting
Muscle
on target. That's a muscle memory.
right.
So on a bad day, you revert to the muscle memory.
You revert
not
to your
your
lizard
adrenaline.
brain.
Yes.
Right.
But with ham radio, we all think of it as, it's all up in our head. Except that, like, if you're having a bad day and
Earthquake,
you're
hurricane, tornado.
the worst day of your life,
Right.
and you have to revert to what's here in your mental muscle memory of where you put the folds in your brain.
Yeah.
If you haven't done that, if the Baofeng still sits on a box on the shelf, you can't rise up. You literally can't. It's impossible.
I'll give you a great example. I back in the day when I was young, did a lot of storm chasing.
Oh, yeah.
Right.
Oh, okay. Like, yeah.
I know that I have heard some people squeezing the microphone
And then not letting go.
and not letting go. I mean, you can hear them trying to squeeze it. They're so jacked up on adrenaline that they're squeezing it as hard as they can, and they forget to let go.
Yeah.
And
There's a
not
reverse of that.
being
You may
You didn't bring
forget
your
to
tiny
press
glass.
the button at all. You might
You
just
don't even get a
shout
tiny glass?
into the
There's only
microphone.
some laps, you know?
yeah, I'm like,
Okay.
but it's if you don't practice that, and that came up today, that Evan Hafer said, push, talk, let go, listen, right? If you don't practice that when you're under stress, to your point, you're going to be squeezing the life out of this HT and don't understand why nobody's answering you.
You know, Die Hard, the Christmas movie.
The Christmas.
So when the cop is fast backing out as he's receiving machine gun fire, he's yelling.
I said help right now, goddamn it, said help. Yeah.
But he's not yelling into anything in the movie.
Oh, he's not holding.
If you watch it, he's
Is
just
this the
yelling
Mandela?
into-
Is it?
he's
Did I
yelling into
Mandela
the-
effect him
Yeah,
holding
you
it?
did.
He's just screaming. Yeah.
But he's yelling into the back seat of his car. And what I tell students when we go through that clip is, without training, you will do that. You'll think you're screaming into your mic, but you don't have the muscle memory to hold
that's
it
a
up
really
to
good
your
point.
face. Now, in the movie, it works, but it shouldn't.
The other thing that
Yeah, there's a couple of things that happen with radio
Yeah.
that shouldn't happen.
a
Shouldn't work.
little iffy.
Yeah.
The other thing I like to mention is, under stress, your communications always, without exception, devolves to the least common denominator.
That's a good
To
point
the
to
point
remember.
where, this weekend, Mike brought up the point, a location and time
That
is the
might be your plan.
communication method.
Yeah. Meet
And
here.
and Evan reiterated that.
Yep.
And I reiterated that last night and said, you know, the most reliable communication method you have are your feet.
Face-to-face verbal.
Walk over there and tell them.
Yeah.
There's nothing to be lost in the translation because there is none, right?
Mhm.
And so we can come up with all of these, and the hobby has these, right?
Mhm.
All of these whiz bang, great new technologies. We create a lot of that new technology, and we field it for the first time. But if you've got a great digital setup, and you're the only one with that setup,
Right. Me into the darkness.
right, it does nobody
Worthless.
any good. It's worthless. So you have to look at at communications in terms of the total system
Yeah.
and the part that you play in that system.
I think that is also why you notice that difference in an in-person class versus streaming, right?
Oh,
It's
sure.
the same thing.
Yeah.
There's so much information in a room full of people that you just don't have.
Yeah.
And we forget that because we're so accustomed to this
Right.
lifestyle.
So apparently Kenwood has full duplex in the Die Hard there.
Oh, yeah,
full duplex Kenwood.
That's
Oh, yeah.
Evan. What's up, Evan?
Oh, that's
awesome.
amateurs airwaves.
Amateurs and Airways. Also one of the Discord admins.
Okay.
Yeah.
Hello, sir. Other Evan. Lots
Yeah.
of Evan.
There were so many Evans. There was more
So
Evans than
many.
Jasons. Jasons is normally our number one. But yeah, no, I just can't say enough. This was a lot of fun.
It was.
Again, I don't. You do in person. That's what you do is
Yep.
in person training.
Well,
So
and I get begged for online, and I actually.
Yeah. we're two ends of the
Yeah.
spectrum.
I'm like, you want to come to the real deal. Like, not that it's not real online, but
What are you trying to say
it's a
about what I do,
different
Evan?
thing. It's different.
Okay, I'm going to
It's
get my
different.
glass.
Okay, yeah, he wants the little glass. So, yeah, no, I get it. And
There's
what do I
value you can't get.
No, yeah, and
That's all
I've said
I mean.
this time and time again. Like, there's a reason why I still want you to find a ham club.
Yeah.
If you can't, I get it. We're all here on the internet, and you can do both, but there's no replacement for real demonstration in person, actually going hands-on time with radios that you wouldn't otherwise get experience with, antennas, building antennas, all that stuff. I mean, we were literally, I got to do one of my favorite things is explain what a dipole is, right? And then what can we do with the dipole? Then we start talking about adding elements to the front and the back of it. We've got a Yagi now, and then what do we do with that? Now we're direction finding. We're doing all kinds of cool stuff. It was and some of that I'm looking into the audience and I'm like, is this
are melting.
kicking? Is this full fire hose at this point? And it was
It is
crazy.
pretty dumb.
But yeah, I don't know. It was good. Yeah, I am an actual real human being.
Yeah,
There's
it's
two actual real humans
Yeah.
here. They can attest.
You're not AI?
I'm not AI.
Okay.
Uh,
Not yet, anyway.
Hey, today was my first full day of getting my Ham Basic license and Ohm's Law. So Ham Basics, is that the UK or Canada? Either way, congratulations. And if you got Basics with honors, get on HF. Congratulations.
That's how it works there.
Dude, shout out to Canada. So Basics is like technician,
Okay.
but if you get like 100%, like A+ student, you get some HF.
Wow.
Doesn't that make sense?
It does
Well, we
make sense.
kind of have that.
No, but like single sideman HF.
We have that.
For 10 meters. That's good a
Okay.
couple of years
get-
out
you
of an
get-
11-year
yeah,
cycle.
Again, depending on who's on.
There it is.
I'm all for getting
Canada. Oh, okay. Well, I didn't plan on talking about this, but what do you think?
I mean,
No. What do you think about giving technicians like single sideband HF? Some, like a little.
I would love it. I think
I agree.
I
agree.
It would grow the footprint exponentially if there
Yeah.
wasn't yet another hurdle. Just to get a sliver on 40 or 80, 20, something versatile. Because all you get is 10 and some CW.
Right.
So I'm actually interested in working that CW angle a little bit with techs, which we talked about today, but I think that's an untapped opportunity.
Yeah.
That's the original digital mode.
Yeah.
You like
And I
saying
think
that.
I do like that. I like to remind people.
Yeah.
They invented it when you were born or
Oh,
A few years
in
after.
high school.
Yeah.
but I'm a big advocate of like, why does Costco give you samples?
Mhm.
Right.
Because if you
To buy
haven't
more.
like had the product
Yeah.
It doesn't matter how good the box is that's in the freezer behind the glass that's, iced over because somebody went in there. If you don't sample it, you're not going to have any reason to dive in.
Yeah.
And what is technician? Technician is supposed to be the sampler
gateway
platter,
drug.
right?
Yeah.
It's supposed to be the sampler platter that you get to go try all these things and then
Yeah.
hopefully dive in more. So yeah, absolutely. Give technicians a little bit of 20 meters, maybe not 40. 40 is pretty small. I've made everybody
fair.
watching is like, Josh beats this drum. Like, that horse's long skeleton. There's no more parts to it anymore.
More voice single side band in more places other than 10. That's not going to die in a
20
couple years.
20 would probably be easier to get onto also.
Yeah.
I was thinking 20 and 80 because 80 is so big. You mean to tell me that there's not some portion of 80 for the nighttime that you can't give techs and a little bit of 20? Come on.
I did mention at lunch yesterday that it fascinates me that the government actually lowered the barrier to entry to something.
For GMRS?
Taking away the code requirement.
Oh, sure.
Oh,
And then lowering the price of GMRS. Those are totally counterintuitive based on my...
yeah.
But I wish they would continue that momentum.
Because it's the government. It's not into
Oh,
it.
I know.
There's some times where I'm like, as much as people are like, oh, the FCC is going to come and take you away and blah, blah, blah. There's a lot of times where the FCC makes a lot of sense. Getting rid of the symbol rate requirement.
Yeah, I was impressed they did that.
Yeah, me too.
There's a number of things the FCC does that.
And I guess we have the ARRL to thank for that in actuality, all their...
Oh, and a number of people,
Yeah.
including the ARRL. So,
Yeah.
shout out to them.
Well, you talked about the brilliance of the band plan.
Yes.
That really
the
is...
multiple harmonics, wide door
resonance
antennas.
across.
Yeah.
And then even when a Baofeng that everyone loves to hate it's over spurious, right? It's spurious in safe places.
Overly spurious. I like that. Okay.
But in safe places, kind of sometimes, right?
Well, the way I look at it is like if who is it? The IEEE or it's Rode and Schwartz. It's one of these companies. They actually you can just get this for free. They'll send it to you.
Uh-huh.
It's like wallpaper. It'll take up half of a wall that shows you the United States band plan and all the primary and secondary users. Spoiler alert, there's no space. there's no empty space. There's no area where there could be radio happening where there isn't a primary or secondary user defined. And it may not be active 100% of the time, but
it's reserved though.
Right, it's reserved.
I think what I meant is the harmonic on a lot of things is also in an amateur space.
Oh, yes.
And
Okay,
that-
gotcha.
So
Yeah.
that is brilliant. I mean, the planning was, and that was another thing we talked about was how important planning is, but that is an impressive thing they've pulled off.
Yeah.
Give them credit where it's due.
For the HF bands specifically, so you can get one antenna
that's
Yeah.
resonant.
that can be resonant on all the bands.
Yeah. Or at least 4 or 5 or 6.
Yeah, on most of them.
Yeah.
On the ones we hit on.
It's an amazing thing.
Yeah. So let's see. By the way, guys, it's 20 minutes until the hour here. So if there are questions, go ahead. I'm going to go through a couple of slides real fast here. Let me see. So this
is
was
not
my...
bad, by the way.
It's also a little strong too. There's it'll get you to where you're going. Are you a grapefruit IPA guy? I'm a pine tree kind of guy. I want it.
Really?
Oh yeah, I want it to be like bitter and aggressive.
No,
That's what I want. That's what I'm looking for.
I would choose grapefruit over pine trees.
Yeah, I'm not against it. I just prefer the other over that. Will there be an after chat? Yeah, I think so far there's going to be an after chat. It's probably just like this. We're going to leave the mics on and go. We'll probably still need the ears just so that we're not talking over each other. But yeah, I think we will. And yeah, we'll take questions. And there's multiple people here. Again, we had a get on the air station. We had the license testing, all that. And we tried to cram that all into one day, and really there was no space. There was nothing. So 2 days, I think, would be the way to do
whoever
this.
the a-hole was that came up with that schedule with no breaks.
I mean,
There was
we
no
did it.
fat to trim.
He did get it all
was
in
good.
there, but
It was good.
Don't you feel like when you do something the first year, there's a lot of pain?
oh sure,
No, pain's the wrong word, but like just
learning.
learning. And then next year you can refine and refine and refine. And so we hope we do this again, and we hope you all consider coming out here. But anyway, I'm going to run through a couple of these really fast. So this was my Beyond Line of Sight. And so I used Beyond the Horizon. This is, I think, a little bit of your thought too. Beyond the Horizon and GMRS. So if you took, most of the people came in with, fairly new walkie-talkie understanding of radios.
Yep.
And they had Evan's back, your talk and explaining how it works. You have the flashlight. This is your comms. Then use a opaque surface. This is your comms on drugs. Like where does the comms go? That kind of thing. It was really helpful. So I took that hopefully to the next level and said, okay, you get what a walkie-talkie is, right? GMRS walkie-talkie comms, 5 watts, channelized, limited lanes, and then the frequency range. And so I tried to back that off of, okay, well, here's where you live. You're here in this world of UHF, and then break that down to all the frequency spaces in the electromagnetic spectrum. And then that's where we started talking about that. By the way, I don't know, for all the people that are watching, I wanted to do a shout out to Marconi. Back in the literally 1900, the first really effective commercial radio setup was one of his stations. It was running at 50 hertz. 50 hertz. It had a range of 200 miles. Okay, and what did that look like? Oh, it looked like that. That's an artist rendition of it.
He was not in an HOA.
That is not an HOA. 200 wires in a conical shape, fed by a 25 kilowatt generator for a 200-mile effective range, which was used for ships and other things that were outside of the space. And it was out of Cornwall. This is all in the UK.
It was the original gangster.
Yeah, so mentioned, we've talked about HF as a slinky. You stretch it, you shrink it.
That was new to me. I'm going to use that.
Yeah, this is where I broke out the antenna. RF propagation, we'll advance this. So this is one of my favorite Wikipedia
I love that graphic.
images that you can get. And this is the full side of it. So we're mainly looking at the far left here. And what's really cool is it's called the radio window. It's the part where the opaque gray parts are missing. The radio window implies that it goes out of the atmosphere. So HF is technically on the left side where it's opaque. So from my point of view, my radio window is where the atmosphere bends my RF back down. I want to be in that space. But they call it the radio window where the atmosphere doesn't care and you can blast out. Oddly enough, as you get more towards the microwave side, that's where real atmosphere like clouds and rain and other stuff can actually affect your super high frequency transmitter. So that I thought this is a really good image to show here. So,
and to the realization that visible light is on the same spectrum as all this other stuff.
All this other stuff, yeah.
That's fascinating.
The rays that give you cancer, infrared, microwaves are all
TV remote work.
Yeah, that's down there. So you hit on this. We had to hit on this multiple times.
Well, this answers the top question: is how far can it talk? Like, that's what everyone wants to know.
And you had thoughts. I mean, it depends on where you live. How far is your repeater? How high? You're from North Carolina.
Yep.
Your repeaters are only going to be as high as some areas. Yep. You said your hill was a mile, or you were at a mile.
I was on Grandfather Mountain. It's 1 mile tall.
Right.
So that's tall where I live.
Right. And we've got like LA Basin mountains that are like at 10K.
Right.
Yeah.
Put us to shame.
So put a repeater on there, you get the whole basin. So lots of breaks for questions because literally
there were lots of questions.
We're just pouring information at people, and that felt like a good spot. That's still one of all my radios right there.
That's all.
Well, I mean, I own all of those, but all my radios, no.
I want to get rid of these.
Fantastic. That was the Kenwood 6.
Their naming is awful, but it's a cool radio.
What's the Kenwood? The Kenwood upper right-hand corner for everybody watching is what we're... I can't remember. It's not a VX6. That's a Yaesu.
Yeah, that's Yaesu.
If you can get one of those, by the way, that's one of the best tri-band radios that you can get. And it has a really good S meter, too, if you're doing direction finding. It's a good radio.
So if you have one of those,
Let's see what
DM me
people
on
are already
Instagram
screaming.
and I'll buy it from you.
THF6. Thank you, THF6. We got some questions. All right, we'll come back to questions. I think I'm going to jump through these really quickly here because, to be honest, you should just come here.
Now, this is a huge pet peeve of mine, this diagram.
Okay, go for it. Go
You
get
need- you
rant.
need-
Rant on.
You need a class to interpret that.
I know, and I had 30 minutes, or not even
mean,
that. I was like 10 minutes.
it's-
Absorb.
It's
quick.
really comprehensive, but man, that is a lot on one page.
Just put it under your pillow.
Yeah.
Osmosis works
Yeah.
for the diaphragm.
So I parlayed off of your 2 meters, right?
Okay.
And that's why I broke it up.
I think I did my bathroom break on this slide because I hate it so much.
Yeah, pink, and then the yellow is the bands that are sometimes great and
Okay.
a lot of times bad, and then
Gotcha.
that's the HF side.
I like
was
the
the green box.
ICOM band plan
It's-
page much
Yeah, it's
better.
good.
Yeah, it's very good. That is my station. That allowed me to dip into day-night cycle. So using this grid tracker image, it may not be the best map to display this, but you guys all know how I live stream. So that little hump in the middle is the night side. And so where's all my 40-meter comms? It's literally underneath that dome
Yeah,
of night, right? So that was kind of fun. I didn't ask anybody. Is this surprising to anybody? Like how this works? It's a little wild the first time I kind of started getting it.
Yeah.
But that was fun because as night rolls over, I was explaining that the East Coast is going to awake tonight, and they're going to say, well, 40 meters is still maybe okay, but I can now go to 10 or 12 or 15 or 20 and start getting into the UK and into Europe, and that was a fun thing to kind of get into.
Yeah.
Again, I'm also hitting people that are like, we know what a Baofeng is, and we were just talking to Evan about getting a program Baofeng, and I'm trying to hit him with, why don't you put a huge antenna in the backyard and talk to the world?
Gray line.
Yeah.
All that stuff.
Yeah.
More break for questions. So this is where the dipole thing came in, and then talking about having a beam antenna and how does that work,
Yeah.
and all of that, going from
You
dipole.
explained that really well. How
I thought
Yagi
so, too.
works, the
Yeah.
reflector.
Yeah.
The
Well, thank you.
directors.
Thank you.
That's hard to get across. You did it. You did it.
Yeah. So anyway, that's where we kind of ended it. So let's take some questions now that I filled the space. Where's...
42.
Oh, there you go. You got a Hitchhiker's Guide.
Of
fan
course.
here. All right. Yes, thank you. Roden Swartz is where you would find that. By the way, they'll send you that for free. That if you want to. What I see. It was a meme somebody made, and this is, I'm not offending. This is, somebody else made this. It was a college dorm. It's 2 people, and the one person goes off and they're putting something on the wall, and you're just like, what are you putting up, a pride flag? And then they pan over, and it's the Roden Swartz
Yeah.
frequency band, because it's all
Yeah.
rainbow.
Yeah.
It was really, I was like,
That's pretty funny.
okay.
More offensive
Alright.
form of pride.
Yeah, well, depending on what you are in the primary, secondary user. But why is American manufacturers asleep at the wheel when it comes to 100-watt POTA and SOTA all mode rigs? POTA has been around how? Okay, so first, the question must be, name me an American manufacturer that exists anymore. The only one that comes to mind is Elecraft, and you better believe I POTA and SOTA'd with a KX2. There really aren't any American radio manufacturers anymore.
Yeah.
That's just the reality of it. Now,
That can't be what they mean by that, though.
maybe they mean Japanese?
Maybe. I mean,
But-
there's not a lot of innovation in the space, period.
But by the way, you could take any radio in the field.
Yeah.
You may not be able to take a base station SOTA, but
It's like any pizza can be a personal pizza. Just depends on how.
I like the way you think. I could go for that.
yeah.
Yeah. But you had a good point when I mentioned why don't more, anecdotally, why don't more of the manufacturers do the repeater locating that ICOM does?
Mhm.
And you
Right.
had a take on that I hadn't heard about the
Mm.
Japanese mindset around picking up clues from other people, or maybe you don't want to say that in public. I know.
Yeah. Way to call me out on that one, Evan.
Sorry.
Okay. So, a lot of the features that are in some of the Japanese radios are kind of known for the company that makes them,
Right.
as I was mentioning. ICOM being one of them has this really handy system where you put an SD card in the
Right.
radio and you load the repeater set, and then it uses GPS to say, hey, this repeater's close to you. You probably have a good shot of being able to get on it. Well, if Yaesu, which is also a Japanese company,
Right.
picked that up and started using it in some form,
then it's almost like they're saying, well, Yaesu had the right way of doing it. Or, sorry, ICOM
Right,
had the
it'd be
right way
an
of
They were,
doing it.
they were better than us.
Right, and there's a
Yeah,
little
yeah.
bit of,
But
like, losing
where I'm
face.
coming from
Yeah.
not a radio guy, is I look at like Android iPhone wars, where everyone is constantly borrowing.
Right.
And all tides rise, all ships. Right.
Well,
so
yeah, that's a good. I mean, I would like to subscribe to that, except when you start considering
doesn't
for
work in IP
well,
litigation very well.
well, yeah. But if you assume that like this handheld is probably going to be on the market for 5 years, the
Right.
ID50 before like the next iteration comes along, then they have to factor that into the feature set they put in on it, and it's going to live there for 5 years, and they have to recoup their R&D off of it.
Yep.
They have to, continue their market share and all that fun stuff. That, there's ego's not the right word, but also, guys, I don't know. Japan is not our culture, right? We don't live in Japan.
I don't
There's
know
things
either,
that we
yeah.
don't
I
understand
haven't heard your
completely.
take on it before.
Call it bragging rights.
Yeah, bragging rights is another way
I
to look at
think
it.
another thing that I forget is these are not like if you compare the potential consumption of one of these devices, like it's not a huge market compared to other things.
Oh, it's tiny.
So you can't expect. I mean,
Yeah.
how many are they going to sell? If they sell one to every ham, compare that to an iPhone. Like,
Right.
Oh, it's like
Right.
the ham radio again. Everybody watching, and I don't know that I've hit this drum again. I don't even know if I hit it that hard last year, but we really should be appreciative of the fact that there's companies even bothering to provide products.
some of them
for
seem
us.
to be bowing out. Like
Kenwood's back in,
Yeah.
but
for a while, it was like,
yeah, because of COVID. But if you think of the market share that exists for some of these radios, it's not very big. And
that's why you should be welcoming more people into the service for sure.
welcoming more people, but also like don't become like cigarette branded to a specific
That's true.
brand.
That's true.
Like many companies make good stuff, and
Yeah.
you should reward companies that
Yes.
have good features and the feature set that you like
Yeah.
with your dollar. Don't just say I'm diehard this brand.
Or just be diehard to the only brand that knows what they're doing.
Oh, my goodness. Strong
you
opinions.
want to say? You gonna
No.
just go on the record
Look, whatever
live
I
to the
say,
internet? I don't know how many people are watching right now.
what-
We can
whatever I say, everyone else is going to have a different opinion. I said this last night. If there are 3 hams in the room and you ask them what the best manufacturer is, you'll get 6 answers.
Yeah, that's true. You did say that. Yeah.
Right? And I mean, I'm an ICOM guy. I'm not
Yeah.
going to, but to me, the value of sticking with a brand is interoperability
Mhm.
and learning how that ecosystem works.
Right.
And
When I
taking that a
switch-
step further, if you're building a team, you need not only same brand, same radio.
Well, so that's the same reason that Southwest only flies 737s.
Yeah.
Right. Is there some
Yeah, Alaska
economies-
does too.
There's some economies of scale in doing that.
Yeah.
But for me, when I pick up a different manufacturer's radio, it's a
Doesn't make any
complete
sense.
retraining
Yeah, I get that.
process.
Mhm.
Where when I move from one ICOM model to another, they tend to structure their menus the same way. The controls tend to operate the same way. It's
Yeah.
even though it might not be intuitive to someone who's picking it up for the first time, if you have experience in that brand space, then
Yeah.
it's more intuitive to you.
I think Yaesu is improving. I think the 710 interface is an advancement for sure. I've been enjoying that, but it needed some work. I think.
Yeah. All right. Mobius Horizons has another question. I've been struggling to listen to HF on my RTL SDR. So I've talked about this. I'll get there. My assumption is that it is my antenna. Web SDR shows traffic. Would an amateur transceiver be more sensitive, or is it just me? So the amateur transceiver part, I'm going to leave that on the side for a second. It depends on what your RTL SDR is. I don't know if the V4 has the up converter or not, but generally if you're using an RTL SDR, you need an up converter that will bring you kind of down into the HF space. If you don't have that, you have to go to like direct conversion mode. I believe that's the right term, which is not the most effective, particularly on HF. They are, $25 dongles. They're really good for higher frequency stuff, but
That's
not
what I use
so
it for exclusively.
right. If you did want a better SDR for receiving HF, you should get an RSP1A from SDR Play. or get an up converter. You can do that too. Version 4, somebody's going to correct me on that if I was wrong. Some of the newer ones have the up converter. As far as an amateur radio transceiver being more sensitive, sensitivity probably not necessarily, but maybe ease of use. Yes, it depends on you. And of course, all things come back to the antenna, right? Yeah, all things come back to the antenna.
Every antenna
But
is
on
complex.
listen only, you should be good. That's probably not your problem.
Yeah,
Well, and they can be a little bit of a science project.
sure. All right. Oh, hey, Scott. Thank you so much for the super chat. Appreciate you. Thanks for doing that. I want to make sure. I missed another one. Matt asks, if you want to demonstrate wavelength and why it matters, show a police stop at night. Hard to see the blue light despite equal power as the red light.
Mm. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. And again, that's your electromagnetic spectrum at play, because visible light plays part of that. The whole Roy G. Biv.
And those are at different ends of the visible spectrum.
Yeah. The Roy G. Biv.
Roy G. Biv. Well, I hadn't heard that in a while.
Question: why can't ICOM make a 100-watt version of the 7? It's called the 7300. I don't know if which everyone is hoping the IC 905. So, if you expect ICOM to produce, or any manufacturer to produce, a radio the size of the 705 that does 100 watts, you probably need to keep dreaming on that. The reality, though, is there are things in the 705 that aren't in the 7300, like the Bluetooth capability, GPS, and the web remote administration kind of stuff.
And 2 meter, 70 centimeter.
And being all band. Yeah. That could come in a future radio. Again, the 7300 has existed for now 5 years, so it's possible that there's something new on the horizon.
Sure hope so.
And yeah, if they included stuff like that, I'm sure everybody would be into it. But the question of why can't they, it's not that they can't, but if you go back to market share, how much money we all pour back into them by buying products, then
Supply and demand.
Well, it's ROI, right? I mean,
right.
we were talking about this last night. It's not, or maybe this morning, it's not can I, because I can make it do anything I want. It's whether, in this case, the customer is willing to wait for it and pay for it.
Right.
And if they don't have a willing market that's willing to pay for it,
Right.
They could,
it's like you were saying
charge
before, they're
$5,000
putting
a
all
pop,
of
they'd
this
probably do it
R&D money into it and not getting that ROI back out of it. And that's where it becomes a little bit of a chicken or the egg, right? Do we want it, or do we want to pay for
What
it?
was that? How did somebody do that? What was that thumbs up thing that just happened? Did you do that?
no, I had no idea.
I don't know how that happened.
Did someone do it? Is it an AI?
I don't know. That was wild. But yeah, good answer.
Totally
I
agree. Yeah.
I mean, it's how we pay into the hobby, right?
Yeah.
If we,
well, yeah, we're, by the way, this is America. This is capitalism. We don't do just donations for no service or product. Come on now. But yeah, go ahead. Sorry.
I said there's a bunch of hearts floating.
Well, I don't know how we got the float like that, but
It's
There,
exotic.
I think we said the other night, the test or something was the cheapest thing you'll ever pay for in ham radio.
Oh goodness.
I mean,
I think
this
the
is
bell
not an
thing-
inexpensive hobby.
bell thing is
the
cheaper
bell
than
thing's
the
cheaper
test.
than the test now.
Well, man, isn't that
You don't
something?
even need a license to buy one.
You can get a radio for less than the test cost.
So I don't know if you saw that. AmCon member from Tampa, Florida.
Woohoo!
Loving the Fieldcraft HRCC collab. Yeah, remember, now, this is before COVID. I was
Oh, yeah.
coming out to hang out with Mike, and Prescott was the first round, which is a lot of fun. So yeah,
Is that
Arizona?
18?
Prescott, Arizona. Prescott's really a nice part of the country too.
Yeah.
That's a little higher elevation, Arizona.
Yeah.
Question: why would be wait? The question
question
would be, why didn't ICOM make a 705 equivalent update? Well, because they wanted to make a QRP radio, kind of tackle that market. By the way, there's really no similar competition for the 705 in the QRP market right now. I talked about this at the end of the year, that's probably the next market share of ham radio, where there's going to be this competition.
Zygu is kind of trying.
Yeah, that's going to be exciting to see the new 6200 wherever they go with that, and we expect writing is on the wall that there's probably a Yaesu QRP radio
That'd be
that's
cool.
gonna come out. And then, you know,
Like an
again,
818 successor, basically.
you know, yeah. But
It's a
again, if
great radio.
if you go back to the concept of like just take 5 years as just a general rule, it takes that long to recoup the R&D costs and all that stuff. So
Absolutely.
if you had a 5-year 7300, maybe something's on the horizon. This is me speculating.
Yeah.
Ray and ICOM don't come after me. This is just me talking.
Yeah.
So that's possible. So yeah, all right. Well, we hit the hour for sure. So I think that's maybe where we'll leave it. Are you doing an after? Yeah. So we answered that. We will. You got to give me like 20 minutes to scarf down a sandwich here, and then get back down here, and we'll do something. We'll hang out and just answer your questions. By the way, the after chat is linked down in our Discord. You join the Discord, and it's just us answering ham radio questions. It could be continuing on this whole topic that we've been doing for the last hour, or it can be you specifically need to get a dipole in the air, and how do you do that, and what antenna and radio, connect them together, all that stuff. Happy to help. So yeah, join us out there. Take the link in the description and join us on the Discord, okay? And yeah, we'll be back. Wait, what's that? Question: will we ever see a HT for HF? Well, I mean,
really soon with
if you-
Lab 599.
if you try hard enough, most QRP radios are HTs.
Yeah.
The Elecraft KX2, you can HT that. Actually, the 817 and the 818 were man pack, meaning
Yeah.
you could put it on your chest and put the antenna up, and you could use it like that.
And
Yeah.
you know,
the
we
TX Discovery.
The new
that's
TX
gonna be it.
Discovery.
so HT is handheld transceiver, right?
Right.
So could you hold the 817 in your hand?
It's
Yeah.
the same person.
Does it follow this form factor? No.
Mm-hmm.
But
Man,
and
talking to your
listen,
man pack.
I said I'm an ICOM guy,
Mhm.
and I said the 817 was a great radio. It was a great radio.
Oh, it's
It
good.
is
Yeah,
a
it's great.
radio.
Yeah.
And served a purpose, filled a niche in the market very well. I mean,
There's still not a non-touch screen competitor, you know.
well, so
KX2. Oh, all band.
Yeah.
All band, all mode. Yeah. By the way, if you didn't see that, Lab 599 dropped kind of a model of radio that looks like a handheld. And I was commenting that if you went back 11 years ago, there were companies that were making HF handhelds. There's a brand called UKITS, and they made a
Oh, yeah, I didn't know any
3-band
of this.
HF handheld.
Yeah. When the solar cycle.
When the
was
solar
keeping-
cycle is permitting of this kind of communication, then all of a sudden companies are more than happy to sell you quirky radios that you could use on those bands.
so
So we're,
technically-
Guard your wallets, everybody.
We're
They're
in-
coming for your monies.
we're in the good old days.
we're in the high
technically
dollar
there
days.
are CB handhelds.
I've got two. I've got a couple of them. Yeah.
Well, they're only 4 watt, right? So it
Yeah,
should be easy.
but
On AM, yeah.
4 watt.
yeah.
All right, everybody. I'm going to do the Patreon roll here. We'll be back in a minute once I get things sorted out for the after chat. But again, link is in the description. You do need to set up your mic and your headphone speaker, whatever, if you'd like to talk to us and ask questions. Because almost everything, whenever you ask a question, we're going to reply back with, how much money you have to spend? What are you trying to do with it?
depends.
You know, it depends, right?
Assume the first answer is it depends.
Right. So yeah, that's going to be our big thing. So
Thanks for having me.
yeah, Evan, thanks.
Yeah,
Tom,
pleasure.
thanks. We'll do it over here. Thank you. We'll do it over
Yeah,
here. Thank you
thanks,
very
sir.
much. Yeah. But yeah, some of us will be back, and we've got some other folks here from AmCon as well that may hop in. We don't know. We'll see. All kinds of friends. But yeah, it's been a good weekend.
Yeah,
I think-
It's a
absolutely.
blast.
I hope our feedback cards come back and people want to do this again in the future.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah.
It really was good. I enjoyed it. I thought it was a lot of fun. Great getting to hang out with you guys.
Yeah.
Love doing that.
Yeah. Excellent. AmCon's going to be at Orlando?
I do not know the answer to that.
Oh, sorry. I put him on the spot here. guys.
Man, I appreciate that.
But I know they'll definitely be in Huntsville.
They'll
That's
definitely
no
be in
question.
Huntsville.
We've got some of the folks from there right here. What about you? Usually go to Hamvention too, right?
Yeah.
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 So don't know about Orlando yet. Maybe by the after chat, he'll yell across the room and say, "Yeah,
Yeah,
we're
I'll go up there
going
and
or not."
find out.
Yeah.
Somebody up there will know.
Thanks everybody that supports us on Patreon. The end of the month is drawing soon, so the patron picks episode vote will go out. You vote what I do for the first of the month in Ham Radio, talking about different topics or challenges and whatnot. So that's how we do that. So make sure to keep an eye out for that. Maybe I'll type that up as I'm about to take my airplane flight home tomorrow. Nice to come to Utah, though.
Yeah.
I do like the cold, the dry cold.
You know, as I tell people all the time, I live in the South for a reason, and the snow's not it.
No?
So
Not a big fan?
it's nice to visit. I'm ready to go.
It's pretty
What is
gorgeous.
that? All right.
Just to open up your door and see these mountains, though. It's
It is.
Yeah.
Yeah, oh, man.
The Utah Valley is
Beautiful.
pretty awesome for
it's
that.
epic.
I was a little bummed it started raining.
Mm.
If it snowed, I'd be a little happier, but yeah.
There's time.
All right, guys. I need 15, 30 minutes, give or take, to get things turned around and get back on live again. So thanks for watching, and we'll talk to you later. 73.